Good morning. I often begin a funeral by saying good morning, even if it's in the afternoon. I did that at a funeral, and I did it intentionally. And this guy says, it's 3 in the afternoon. But I really meant good morning in a couple ways. I mean, there's two ways you can take that. It's like a greeting. We say that in the morning, good morning. But there's also a sense in which we can have good, M-O-U-R-N-I-N-G, good morning. And I want to talk to you about those kind of concepts today. In fact, I think Brianna, where are you, Brianna? I see you sneaking back there. I think she's been with me when I've done this before. But I want you to experience something with me, okay? You don't have to do anything, but you're going to experience something with me in just a second, okay? All right, I just want you to take a nice breath, all right? Just relax. Did you feel that? Feel what? I said, feel what? It was a brand new moment. You and I have never been in this moment. In fact, they just keep coming, right? We've never been in this moment. It's as if every single moment is like morning, because in every single moment that we're having, it's a new opportunity to live into that moment. And so often our past and what it maybe has just happened or something that has happened years ago clouds and affects this new moment we keep living into. And so today I want to talk to you about how to have good mornings. And it's like one of our founding father of the Church of the Nazarene said, every moment, every day, every moment of the day is morning. M-O-R-N-I-N-G. It's a new beginning. It's a new chance to live into the moment. And so I want to talk with you a little bit about how we can live into these moments that we just keep receiving and God so graciously gives to us so that we have good moments, good morning, good experiences in this life. One of the ways that we certainly do that is, certainly in a situation like this, is to remember Kathy, to remember your mom, remember your relative, and talk about the things that are going on in your heart and mind. Some of the experiences you may have may be irritants. Nobody's perfect, right? And so some of the memories you may have may not be necessarily pleasant memories. And one of the ways that we process those memories so that we don't, the mornings, the moments that keep coming, that we can have good moments and good mornings and keep living into those moments, is begin to process and embrace those thoughts and embrace those emotions and talk with somebody about them. Even talk to yourself about them. Talk to God about them. He cares. He listens. Say, yeah, he listens. He doesn't speak a whole lot. Oh, he speaks much more than maybe what you realize. But you can do that with him. And he'd be glad to listen to you. And indeed, he really does. And so today, for a little bit here, we're going to practice some morning, M-O-U-R-N-I-N-G. And we're going to think about your mom. We're going to think about Kathy. And we're going to talk a little about her. Because that helps us process so that the moments that keep coming can be good moments. Better than perhaps things have been in the past for us. When we hold our past and hold our thoughts and our whole emotions in, they always come out. They will either come out in a positive manner or a negative, destructive manner, either in relationships or on our bodies. But they always find a way to the surface. And so it's important for us to embrace those thoughts and embrace those emotions, even when it really hurts. You know, there's no rule book or law book that I'm aware of that tells you how to grieve and how long you're supposed to grieve. And some people say, well, you know, you should be over this by now. Well, who says that? Who gets to make up the rules, you know? Each of us mourn and grieve differently, and the process may take longer or shorter for some. but it's good to grieve and embrace these moments and embrace these thoughts and feel them so that you can. I'm not sure if you really fully move on. I don't know that you fully ever recover from a loss, but you learn how to manage it a little bit better, and you're not living stagnant, and you can enjoy the moments that keep coming that God grants to us. So we want to talk a little bit about Kathy this morning. And Tony, you want to start this off? You ready to do this? Give it a try. Okay, that's good. Let me just share a few thoughts. I know that Kathy, she loved her family. She loved art, very artistic, very outgoing, yet she was a reserved kind of person. I've had encounters with her numerous times. In fact, I sure remember when your sister passed and being there at the church. Those were difficult days. Somebody has said there are two kinds of people in the world: those who take careful measurements before hanging a picture, and the other person just drives a nail in the wall. He said the first kind always marries the second kind. And those of us who are married and have relationships, we understand that to be true. And such was the case with Kathy and Tony. Tony was telling me that when they first got married, that Kathy said to him, she says, you gotta slow down and look around you. You're gonna miss everything. You and I are probably wired like that, Tony, because I tend to be like that too. And I'm learning to slow down and take a look at the things that are around us. She overcame a lot in her life. And there was a lot in her life that really weighed on her, physically especially. I remember, and Brianna, I don't know if you remember this, but I remember coming to the hospital to see you. Yeah. And while I was visiting with Brianna, Kathy came in. And so we were talking a little bit, and she was sharing, and she was saying that she was getting ready to go to it. She had a doctor's appointment to go to. And I asked her, I said, Kathy, what's going on? She says, well, I've torn both rotator cuffs in my arm, and I've got this hernia. And she's explaining that, and I was sitting there, and I said to Kathy, I said, well, Kathy, let's just see what Jesus will do for you. And so I got up, and I went over and gently placed my hands up on the top of her shoulders from behind, and I was praying for her. While I'm praying for her, she's starting to cry. I mean, just wasn't a slight cry, a weep. She was really crying. And I got all done, and I said, Kathy, check out your shoulders, check out your arm to see if you notice anything different. And she raised her right arm really high, and I look, and she said, and she's crying, she says, I couldn't do this before. I said, really? And I look over at Brianna, and her eyes are as big as saucers. And Brianna's going, she couldn't do that before. I said, check out the other arm. She couldn't do that. We prayed again, and nothing would happen. And nothing seemed to take place with the hernia. But she went in to see the surgeon. I talked with her later. I made a couple weeks later. And she said, I told the surgeon what happened. I said, be sure you tell the doctor. You don't want him cutting on a shoulder that God just healed. And so she did. And apparently the surgeon said, well, it looks like God healed you then. And there's such a mystery to this. I don't understand this. I don't understand why he did one shoulder, not another, and why. And I know even this issue. And I remember Tony in the hospital. We prayed. I believe in a healing God. I know how God touched her shoulder. I know God touched Brianna in our church that one Wednesday night. I'll never forget it. I don't understand it, but I know that God's good. Well, Kathy was a very gentle spirit, very loving spirit. That I know of for sure. And perhaps you have some memories of her. Maybe there's a word you would use to describe Mom. Maybe there's a story that you would like to share briefly with us. Maybe funny, it may be very serious. But I just want to give you the opportunity to share today. Anybody want to share a word, a thought, a memory? Come on, Jacob, yeah.
Thought a long time about what I was going to say when this moment came, and it definitely takes a special person like my mom and my dad to take in as many kids as they did from the places that they took them in from. I don't know, maybe anyone else that did quite what they did. And I think that was important and a big step for them in the larger story of the generational complexities of where they came from and the challenges that they faced and the challenges that we faced. I think it was a good continuation of the better part of the values that were shared between each family. And I'll give you an example, one of the things that my mom always told me when she was very little is that she wanted to be a mother because she wanted to give, all of us the things that she'd never had, and she certainly did that. Her and my father certainly did that. And I think for those of us in my family that do plan on having children, I think that was something that will resonate with me, is the capacity for unconditional love, no matter where we came from or what our story was, and the desire to leave something better for those that come after us. And I think that truly embodies a lot of the spirit of what my mom stood for, and I think she would be really happy with how we turned out, how her services turned out as well. I don't know if anybody else wants to say anything about my mom. Go ahead, Bree. But before Bree, real quick, I just want to tell a funny one. Dad might get mad at me, but we were moving into our newer house before it burned down. This was years ago. I could tell my mom liked it, and the reason I could tell my mom liked it, she was really silly. If you guys know her really intimately, she sat up against the wall. There was no furniture in it. We were just looking at it at the time with the realtor. She sat up against the wall and she says, "Well, Jake, I think I really like it." And then she lets out a big and so there's nothing in the room, and it just echoed. And boy, did it sting. Go ahead, Brianna. She would kill me for that one.
Yes, she would, yes. And rightfully so.
Came in, thought a pipe burst.
Wow. There's so much to say, but it's just hard to even begin to put it all into words. My mom was the most unselfish person that I know. Like Jacob said, she opened her and my dad both opened their homes and their hearts, to so many children, whether, they ended up being adopted or they were just there short term. They just wanted to help people. And my mom just gave and gave and gave of herself. And she loved crafting, she loved spending time with us kids. We would go out to lunch and our parents would take us, they were big into making memories. And my mom always just wanted us to remember different places. I mean, ever since we were little, apple picking every year, pumpkin picking, Cedar Point, SeaWorld. I mean, just all kinds of memories. She was big into making memories. And I never really thought about this day before, because I guess I just didn't think it would happen. My mom I know that she's not suffering anymore, but it still doesn't ease the pain. She was wonderful. Like I said, there just are no words for how unselfish she was, how caring she was. She gave everything her all. And I know my sister said at one point, she really did deserve the world. Because she was the type of person who would give the clothes off her back. And I don't know, she loved the Lord. She made sure we knew the Lord, her and my dad both did, made sure we grew up with a faith. And she's definitely leaving behind a legacy. And I will never, ever forget her, ever. And I'm gonna do my best to live up to how she did. Then I pass.
My mom, she was a one of a kind of soul. She always gave even when people didn't get back. She touched many hearts, some that were made undeserving and some that weren't. Some were deserving, some that weren't. But in the end, she was always there for everybody, even if they weren't there for her. When people cried out for help, she was always there to give a helping hand. And we may have lost her today, but she's found her peace and she'll never be forgotten in our hearts. She loved everybody, even if they didn't love her back. She never hated anybody. She may have disliked some people, but she never used strong words, never talked bad about anybody. And everything that came out of her mouth was kind and not disgusting. There was a time, it was before the house burnt. We had this big tree house, and me being stupid, I was running up the wood, got a big old splinter in my foot, and I cried like a little baby. It was a big splinter, probably like half an inch. And I came in there, I was like, what are you all crying about? My dad's over there. It's like they grabbed my foot, and they pulled that thing right out so quick. I'm like, Dad, slow down, slow down. And then he goes over and he pours alcohol, and I'm like, Dad. He's all like, it hurts. It don't hurt me. It hurts you. Dad. I couldn't ask for better parents, honestly. I know I may have not been the perfect son. Nobody is. Nobody's the perfect daughter. But through all the fighting, she was always there for me, always held my back, even when the darkest times and all the struggles that I went through. And I couldn't ask for a better mom. She is the perfect mom that I could ever ask for.
Is there anybody else? Tony, want to try? Okay.
So this past year, we celebrated 30 years together. There was never a time that I never wanted to not go home after work to see her. After we were together, we were friends before anything else, and it made it such a stronger relationship. We had a lot of stuff that we went through in our lifetime. And if it was anybody else, we were always able to talk. You know, there was, we got married 4 days after her birthday, and when we were getting married, I forgot her birthday because we were running around right before we got married. Well, that never happened again, ever. It was, you know, and there was so much going on, and And she was okay. She, you know, I mean, I apologized up and down, and she was just like, it's okay, you know. There's a lot going on, but it just was, it just, you know, she was always forgiving. She, we were always able to talk about anything that was happening in life, and I can't imagine life without her. You know, I was talking to her this morning, asking her just to get through this, so I could share something. And she did, when we first got married, you know, she, I guess from just the family and everything, and it was almost like when she was drawing or painting or anything, she had to see the whole world at a different perspective. So she, and you know, as Rich had said, that she told me, she was like, slow down. She goes, just look around, look at all the beauty that's in the world. Because you're gonna miss it. It took me a couple of years to understand what she was talking about, but I do get it, you know. And I can't imagine even being here. You know, she was always by my side. I love her with all my heart. You know, and I know that, you know, people say that she's not in pain, but it's, you know, it's just not a fair world. She had a good heart. She really wanted to see the best in everybody. And she would give of herself, and, you know, sometimes she was waiting for the next bad thing to happen, and I guess we balanced each other out just by, you know, talking about it and seeing things from different points of view. I don't know. She's just, I'm gonna miss her. I'm just gonna miss her. I just can't imagine life. Not necessarily with my wife, but my friend. And I talked to her all week, and I asked her to just get me through one day. It's just minute by minute. She loved being a mother. She just was excited, and there was so many things that you know, she kind of kept me in check a lot sometimes, and that was good. That was good. Again, from just a different perspective on life, and I appreciated that. I appreciated that all the time. She loved her music. She was never like in the box with the music. It wasn't like one thing. I was going through her playlists, and she was just like, I mean, there was so many different songs that it was like, wow, you know, I mean, we both listened to music, but it was from like Queen to Journey to gospel to, you know, just it was amazing She was a fighter, you know, if she believed in something, she just, you know, it didn't matter. It wasn't about, you know, there was one time that she was talking about one of the kids, and they said, you know, the place that we were at said, you know, well, if we do that for all the kids, and she said, I'm not talking about all the kids, I'm talking about my kid. It's just the person she was. And I appreciate it. And I appreciate her, and I love her. And I can't believe I'm even up here still talking. Just, I feel like she's right by my side.
It was good, except for you, Jacob. You're in trouble. We have some stories about my mom. She's dreading these moments. She won't be around, but she knows what we're gonna do. But it's good to laugh in the midst of our pain. It really is. So how do we live in these good moments? Hey, we talk about what's going on inside. Because what's going on inside always comes out, either comes out of our mouth, sometimes not always good, or it comes out of our bodies, and it doesn't come out good when we hold it in. This is why we guys die early, Tony, you know, because we hold too much in. This is more of a guy thing, but I think it happens with all of us. That's how we do this. But there's another way, and I want you to listen carefully to me if you can for a few moments. And that is, it comes from the words of Jesus. So Jesus is the night before his pending death, and he knows how he's going to die, and he's telling his guys how he's going to die and what's going to happen, and they don't want to hear it, and they're really upset. And in the midst of all of that, Jesus looks at me, says these words: don't let your hearts be troubled. And you're going, I can imagine the incredulous looks on their faces. And they're going, you're the reason, what you're telling us is the reason we're upset. And now you're telling us don't let our hearts be troubled? Are you kidding? And I think it's very serious. What's really interesting is that those words were used by Jesus of himself, and the word trouble was used by Jesus about himself at one point, several times. And he says, now my heart's troubled. And now he comes, he says, don't let your hearts be troubled. And you're going, wait a minute. You got troubled. You're telling me not to get troubled. It's kind of like you're speaking out both sides of your mouth. What shakes here? What gives here? But the key word in that phrase, don't let your hearts be troubled, is the word be. It's the idea of remaining troubled. Because as we go through life, we're going to face troubling situations. This is a troubling situation. He says, don't let your hearts be or remain in that troubled state. He said, you believe into God, believe also into me. And even after that statement, you want to go, it's kind of like someone tells you what to do, they don't know how you have to do it, and you get frustrated. And it didn't seem to me like Jesus was telling me anything about how to stop letting their hearts be troubled. And he goes on. But no, he's telling them exactly how we do it so that we can live into these moments that keep coming. So instead of being bad moments because what has transpired before, what's in our minds, we can have these moments to be much better than what they could be. Jesus says, don't let your hearts be or remain troubled. And the key to that, he says, you believe into God, you also need to believe into me. And you go, that doesn't seem like a whole lot of help, does it? Let's think about it for a moment. Well, let's think about this. When you really believe in somebody or someone, you lean on them, don't you? See, what's difficult for you, Tony, is you leaned on this lady. And now you don't have someone to lean on like you had her. Maybe you leaned on your mom. You don't have her anymore. See, when you really believe in somebody, you lean on them. You depend on them. You rely on them. And one of the reasons you do that is because you believe they're trustworthy. Trust in them. When you really believe in somebody, you listen to them, don't you? You go to them with your problem and you look to them for advice. In fact, when you really believe into them, you'll listen to what they say, not just hear with your ear, but you'll do what they say. It's like you would submit to their ideas. You'd obey them. Jesus says, don't let your hearts remain in a troubled state. How do you do that? You believe into, and that's the word. It's like there's always this idea of a movement toward God and a movement toward Jesus. That's what he means. Believe into, rely on, depend on, listen to me, come to me, have trust and faith in me. Do what I tell you, listen to what I got to tell you. And he speaks. He's telling us how we do it. Hey, we can talk to one another. It's good. It's always good. I've said to God a few times, I've told him what's going on in my life, and I'd listen. And he didn't seem to be replying to me. I said, okay, if you're not going to talk to me, I'll talk to Debbie, my wife. At least she's going to say something to me. And it's almost, I felt like if God was saying, that's exactly what I want you to do. Because sometimes I need somebody with skin on, somebody I can see, somebody I can touch. It's fine. But I want you to know that God is also there for you. Now I know in our culture in these day and ages, there are a lot of people who have a lot of trouble believing in a God. Any kind of God. Personally, I can't help but believe in him. I just can't imagine that this just all happened over millions and millions of years. I'm telling you, maybe you do, but I would say you got a way greater faith than what I do. I don't think anybody in this room would ever believe that this building just over a couple hundred years just slowly evolved and developed and became this building with lights and plumbing and everything. He said, that's ludicrous. And yet, some in our culture and our world want us to believe that this living person that we are somehow came out of nothing. Yes, that takes a lot more faith than what I have in my God. One of the big problems with the idea of God is saying, well, where did God come from? That's a great question. And I wish I could answer it. I don't know. But you see, the evolutionists, those who don't believe in God, believe that matter is eternal. And the issue is, then where did matter come from? Nobody has an answer. It just seems a lot more logical and sensible to me to believe that there is a God who created this. And so to me, this is intellectual, but it's also very personal because I know him and he lives with me and in me. And he's very real. He's my coping method, Tony. I have my wife and family and friends that I'll lean on. More than anybody else, he's my coping method. I lean on to him. I rely on him. When I'm sad, when I'm glad, when I'm mad, talk to him. He's very real. I don't always sense his reality, but what he's done for me has given me peace. Jesus looks at these guys and they're upset. He's seeing it in their eyes. You can see the fear and the emptiness. And he says, don't let your hearts be troubled. Believe into God and believe also into me. Rely on me, depend on me, come to me with your issues, come to me with your joys and your sorrows. Listen to what I would have to say, pour it out on me, because that's what you do when you believe in somebody. And do what I say because I will help you through life. He even went so far as to say this, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and no one comes to the Father except by me. I can't tell you the way because I am the way. I'm the truth. You just have to follow me. How do you follow him? You believe into him. I know that to be an absolute truth, that he's the life. My pastor, one of my heroes, Paul Cunningham, used to say, knowing Jesus, having a relationship with Jesus, and knowing God is the best way to live, and it's the only way to die. I believe it with all my heart. Knowing him produces a peace in you when you get to this stage of life. We're all going to get there one day, right? I don't like to think about that, but we're all going to get there. And I believe God gives us a dying grace. He gives us a peace. I know that Kathy, you know, Tony was telling me about how he and Kathy would read scripture together. And I had heard from a guy who had done some study on marriages, and those who read scripture together, pray together, their odds of getting divorced are like 1 in 100,000 or something like that. It's ridiculous. It's like it just doesn't happen hardly. Put your trust in Jesus. I share this story and this particular message almost at every funeral. I don't know if the funeral directors I come to, I say, this guy tells the same stuff because it's so deeply ingrained in me. I mean, this is not head, this is heart. And I hope you feel it coming from my heart because it is. We get this new moment. Did you feel it? Another one keeps coming, man. They just keep flowing. These new moments, they keep coming. And how can I have these moments so that they're good? I need to deal with the stuff that's in my head and in my heart. I need to face it and embrace it. I need to talk about it and share it, even if it's only with God himself. Because when God is all you have, I've discovered he's all you need. And he's good. Jesus is the revelation of who he is. Get to know him. Seek him. Open the book and read it. He's good. Let me pray with you, okay? Father, these are difficult moments. There's a lot of sadness. And I'm glad that there's also some gladness that we were able to laugh. And in the time that is to come with family, pray that they will be able to process and embrace the sorrow and sadness they feel in their hearts. Share it with one another and talk about Mom. Talk about Kathy. And be able to release some of the pain and sorrow that's there. But there'll be moments when there's nobody around except you. And you're always near. And in those moments, may they be able to understand your love enough that they reach out to you because you're reaching out to them. And may they find your peace and believe into you because you are the way, the truth, and the life. And that's what you want to give to us. Not mere existence. You want us to live. You're good. Thank you. Grant peace and strength to us now and in the days ahead. We pray in your name, Jesus. Amen. Our funeral director come and give us some instructions at this time.